Morning folks, thought we'd do a little video for you today. We've got a bit of spare time doing a job. So we've got a little bit of an unusually large pot to fill today with some compost. It's a lovely metal container that's going to be for bulbs and bedding and things like that, nothing too permanent, but we're going to spend some time to make a nice compost mix for it. And this same principle applies whether you fill in a large trough like this or maybe a small pot like that. It's just an idea to get a bit of a mixture going for the plant that you're trying to grow, rather than just relying on the multi-purpose. So we're going to use one of our bigger bits of kit to do it, to cheat. So we'll go around the front and show you that. All right. Using the cement mixer today, which is obviously not a traditional bit of compost mixing. There's no reason to use this. This will just tumble up the compost nicely. So if you're doing this for a pot, you could use it on a mixing tray, or you could use a shovel and a wheelbarrow. Okay, so we're going to talk you through what we're going to add in. I'll put it in. So first of all, we're going to add some topsoil. So these are just bags of ordinary topsoil. We've got all this from Garden Centre today. So if I just show you, nice bit of topsoil. This has been sterilised, so hopefully there won't be any weed seeds or anything like that. So we're going to tip that in. Obviously making sure that the cement mixer is nice and clean and dry before we start doing this. So tip that in, give it a spin. So this will help to break up lumps and bumps, any big bits that would be not great for the mix. So we'll leave that spinning for a bit. We've let that mix for a while now. We're going to add in some multi-purpose compost. So this is a general multi-purpose compost. So peat-free, obviously. We quite like the New Horizon brand, but there are lots available. If we mix that in, stick the whole bag in. And I always think of multi-purpose being a little bit jack of all trades, master of none. I always think it's worth adding a bit of something extra to it for almost any job, apart from maybe a hanging basket or a pot that's just going to have bedding in it for the summer. But even then, I think it's worth mixing some different things into it, which we'll add in. But it's a good base layer for lots of other things. So again, we'll give that a good mix. And in a second, you'll see that the topsoil and the multi-purpose compost will mix in together, hopefully. You can see it starts to mix, and it's breaking up any of those big lumps and bumps. So into the mixture now, so we've got the topsoil, we've got the multi-purpose compost. We can add in some mature plant compost. So this is a John Innes number 3 mature plant compost. So John Innes really refers to it being soil based. There's a little bit more complication to it. So number 3 is for plants that are mature, number 1 is for seedlings or seed sowing. So, and that's really it, 1, 2 and 3, and number 2 is for in the middle plants. So we're going to add that in. So that is, let me show you. So that is, it's almost what we've mixed up already, sort of multi-purpose compost and topsoil really. But we're going to add that in. That's got some nutrients that'll be really good for the plants over the long term. So the things like the bulbs that we plant in, that'll be really good for it. So we'll give that a mix now. Okay, so we've got that all mixing together nicely. We're then going to add in some potting grit. Bit of a heavier bag, let me come to you. So that's some nice gritty grit that's been washed. So again, there shouldn't be any weed seeds in there or anything like that, because we don't want to introduce a load of new weeds into either into your pots or into the borders or anything like that. So we're going to chuck in a good few spoonfuls of that. Okay, and that's going to help with the drainage. The peat-free composts, a lot of people are finding them to be really quite sort of having trouble with the drainage. So adding some grit like that, some sharp grit, or some horticultural sand into the mixture. So again, if you're just doing it for some pots, if you mix in some grit or some sand, it just helps free it up, makes the drainage better. Okay, we're also going to be adding some bark in a second, and that'll do the same process. It'll just help loosen it up. So again, we'll give that a mix. So we've added the grit in, so that's freed it up. So we're probably being a bit over the top here for what we're doing. We're doing this because we've got an opportunity to really get a really good mixture into this soil. So what we've done already, multi-purpose compost, topsoil, and a bit of grit. That's probably all you need to be thinking about for when you're making up a mixture for your own pots and things like that. But I do think it's worth it, and you'll find that will give your plants a real advantage throughout the year. Even if it's only for annuals, they'll look better than your neighbours, which is what it's all about, isn't it? Really? So, but we're going to add in some of this, which we've not used before. This is something we found today. So, Fibre Smart mulch. So we're thinking again, this is going to help add a bit of sort of body to the compost, help break it up a bit. So we're going to stick a bit of that in. And I'll show you what it looks like. So it's a sort of, I guess, bark, maybe a little bit of manure in there possibly. So we'll add that in, give that a bit of a try. Again, give that a mix up. So we're then going to add in some, now this is quite a sort of small chipped bark. It's not like play bark, this is sort of a finer chip. So we're going to again add this in to help with the drainage, give the compost a bit of body. So we'll chuck in a couple of handfuls of that in. And again, if we were doing this for potting up plants or for like a summer display, we probably wouldn't add this in, it'd be too rough and too coarse. But for what we're doing, this will be okay in the mixture. So just stick one more handful in. But you could always use it as a pot topping around your plants if they're mature, not for little seedlings. Okay, so nearly finished now, promise. So one of the things we're going to add again, because we've got a bit of free reign with this, we're going to just show you. So this is some clay granules. These are quite often added into houseplant compost mixtures. Again, they just help bulk up the soil really, add really good drainage. And we've actually used these when we were building a green wall, just to sort of bulk out the compost that's not too heavy. They're incredibly light. So we're going to just add some of that in, just to again help with the drainage. Couple of handfuls of this. Again, it's not going to make a massive difference, but when you're growing houseplants, this can really help. So let's stick that in. Mixing up. Okay, so the last thing we're going to add is some slow release plant food. So these are little, I think they're wax little balls, and inside is plant food. And what happens is, as the temperature rises, the wax basically melts and it releases out the fertilizer, and that just makes sure that the plants are getting the nutrients at the right time, not when they don't need it. So it's quite cold today. If you give a plant a load of food and everything, it might grow too early and get hit by the frost. So with something like this, you know that it's going to get it at the right time. Don't need to add much in. So this is probably the equivalent of about 2 bagfuls of compost. So just a sort of little sprinkling is actually all you need. And again, use that one last mix. And then that's great. So that's had a really good mix up now. So that should be ready. So as I said, this is probably a bit over the top, but it's just to give you an idea of the different things that you can add into the compost. So what we're going to do, we're going to tip it into our wheelbarrow now. So we're going to make up quite a few mixes today, so we can leave that last little bit in, and that can be for the next mix. So that looks a really good mixture. So we'll take that round and put it into the pots. Okay, so we're back with our pot. The traditional advice was to stick things like crock or polystyrene in the bottom of the pot, particularly with one so large. And the idea of that again was to just help with the drainage. But the sort of current thinking is that having 2 layers basically of compost isn't right for the plants. So as the roots find their way down, they come to this layer and they don't like it. It throws them completely. So the current advice is to not do that, If you've got a big hole at the bottom and you want to put a piece of crock over it, that's fine. But the rest, just fill it with compost. So you can see we're going to need to do quite a few of these mixes because we've got quite a few to fill, and that isn't actually filling up very much. So we'll spend the rest of the day getting these ready, and we'll show you a picture when they're all done. Thank you, bye. Hi everyone, so we have been doing other things in between, but we've finished filling these up now, so you can see lovely mixture, all the different things that we added into the compost. So we've put that in, and as we put it in, we've sort of compacted, but not heavily, each layer every so often, just to make sure there's no massive air gaps. And the last thing for us to do now is obviously, well, two last things: plant up, get the bulbs into there for the coming spring, and then we need to brush up because we've made loads of mess. Okay, right. I hope that's been informative. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.